All right, so I think we're recording, so I'll go ahead and get this kicked off as people trickle in. Welcome everyone to one of our monthly community calls. We hold these every month, though each month we shift through three themes. One call, I give kind of a quarterly project update. Once a quarter, we have a call focused on node operators on the Livepeer network, and it's all focused on topics that help them, run their transcoders, orchestrators, GPUs, et cetera. And then once a quarter, we do a topic call selected by the community and moderated by our community lead, Nelson Ryan, who is here to moderate this one. This is one of the community topic calls. I'm excited for the app showcase. I'm looking at two cool apps that are building different aspects of Livepeer. These calls are open invites for participation. We usually get, 15, 20 people that join to kind of actively participate, but then we also stream them live at livepeer.org.tv, livepeer.org/TV. And we may also be streaming live through Glass at some point, TBD. And the calls are recorded. So know that if you're participating live, it'll be recorded and put up on our website for later viewing where most people take it in. They're meant to be open discussions, so anyone can chime in, interrupt, ask questions in the chat. We don't stick too rigidly to the agenda. And then, we have plenty of time at the end for Q&A or open discussion on what's on people's minds. In Livepeer world, the last couple of months, we've definitely been going through some of the ups and downs of dealing with Ethereum gas pains and scaling issues, but know the team is hard at work. We're working towards a upcoming test net for some scaling solutions and getting a scaling solution live. Look for a post coming out in the next week, hopefully, that kind of outlines a pre-proposal for what an upgrade might look like to solve some of the scaling issues. I know that the node operators have been doing an awesome job supporting all the traffic on the network as it's gone up and down. This week, it's really coming back up. People are seeing more work, competing for fees. It's been great to see the orchestrator community support one another in the Discord chat and help debug issues and help earn fees for everyone and whatnot. So we have a community goal of trying to get more stake on all the high-performing nodes, activate them to be able to call reward. The scaling updates will be the big help with that. So a lot going on in the background, a lot being built. Hope to have some exciting kind of news and wins to share with everyone soon. So with that, I will hand it over to Nelson, who can lead the call from here.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that, Doug. And yeah, hey everyone, thanks for joining. So as Doug mentioned, we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. We've got two projects building on Livepeer on the call with us. And so the way we were going to do this, we're gonna walk through both of those projects. And after we have a look at each sort of project, we're going to leave a bit of time for Q&A from the community. So feel free to ask any sort of questions. And then, yeah, from there, I think we'll go through both projects and Q&A respectively, and then we'll have a little bit of time at the end to just do more general sort of Livepeer community Q&A as well. On the call, we've got, so I believe we've got Deo from Glass Protocol. We've also got Varun, and I believe we may have a few other team members on the call as well. Sam, are you with Glass?
Yeah, so we have,
Awesome.
I'm Dio, Varun Iyer, and then Samson is the last name.
Awesome. And I believe we've also got Nico and Ruben on the call as well from Tenderize.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. Awesome, guys. Yeah, so look, to kick things off, I'm now going to hand it over to Deo, who's going to showcase a little bit about what they're building at Glass. And then as we go through, yeah, feel free to jump in with any questions once we've kind of walked through the general product.
Awesome. Hi guys, my name is Dio Diosin. I'm calling from my bathroom. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about Glass, why we started it, why we think it's really important right now. But Glass is the first video-based, community-owned NFT marketplace, and a lot of creators that I know, that my friends know, that we reached out to, have been pretty much for the past 5, 6, 7 years struggling to monetize their content on platforms. Typically, they would go to TikTok or YouTube to kind of get a lot of views. And on Glass, we wanted to create a product where essentially these creators could go and directly monetize their content right when it's ready. And so to this point, we've done about 4 different creators creating videos or doing live streams, and we've been able to generate about $40,000 for these creators in volume in the past 4 weeks. We choose creators slowly right now just to make sure that we're resonating with our audience. But as we build out the product, providing self-service videos, self-service live streaming, profiles, and really becoming that video protocol for content creators to go to monetize their content, we feel that we'll be in a good space to really pioneer crypto into the creator communities that are looking to make some money, but don't necessarily have the onboarding process and user friendliness that they would like that they experience with Web2 apps. So our job is really to kind of create that video platform that's pretty much the decentralized YouTube with a little bit of Twitch elements, and kind of migrate creators from Twitch and YouTube where they can still use those products, but kind of provide them a way to make increase their income streams with crypto. And Varun and Sam could probably explain more on the technical side too.
Yeah, thanks, Dow. Yes, Sam, can you talk a little bit about how we're using Livepeer?
Yeah, totally. So we have live streaming functionality. It would be great for us to do a demo, but I'll do that probably after we speak, and then set up a little demo for you guys. But otherwise, one thing that we're really excited about is actually video transcoding. So like we were doing some experiments with video transcoding on Google Cloud, and it's actually our greatest expense. Livepeer is able to reduce that quite a lot. So really excited to continue working with them on improving like video transcoding and being able to just fully switch to like using a decentralized network versus like a cloud provider. So I think Doug would know better, but I think like the cost savings is like 50 times or something crazy like that. So it's really amazing just to like take advantage of free markets and edge computing. Super cool.
Very
Awesome.
cool, guys.
Yeah, we'd love to see that. We'd love to see the product in action if that's possible.
Yeah. Let's see what we can kick up real quick. In the meantime, if like anyone has questions about like our backgrounds, about where we're at in the stage of development, pretty much anything, feel free to ask.
You guys have had a couple of like successful early events, right? You want to talk about what you've seen, what you've been able to do for creators so far?
I mean, it all really started off with our first live stream. Actually, we had built out the technology to do just normal videos, but we stumbled upon Livepeer and we wanted to try it out, and we realized, oh, we could actually do decentralized live streams. And just as an experiment, on our first live stream, it was just me, Dio, and Sam on a Zoom call, kind of like this, and we sold NFT editions, sort of like digital merch for attending this like live stream. And within like 22 minutes of live streaming, we sold out all like 25 of our editions. We had a lot of people in like our Discord chat, which we were also showing with the live stream. So it's kind of like that live Twitch chat without actually creating a Twitch chat. And that was kind of a beautiful experience. Our first like true success, where we saw that there is a community that was forming around Glass. Afterwards, we did our first video auction with an artist named Selah. She's the granddaughter of Bob Marley and daughter of Lauryn Hill, who's just getting into the musical space, and she released her first EP last week. So right before that, she released a music video for it on Glass. Since then, and then that auction did fairly well. It sold for around 5.82 ETH, I think, and we did a couple more like just NFT editions after that with another artist named Deli from New York City. Right now, we're running a more like we're stepping outside the music video space and working with something more experimental, kind of like a short, like almost moving painting, if you will. It's available. It's actually up for auction right now on Glass.
I put it in the chat.
If you want to check it out, the current bid is around 1.75 ETH. But this video is a little bit different because we're bringing in independent film creators who from like New York University, who are like kind of with this. We're trying to see if there's like more like experimental content that won't necessarily thrive in a platform like YouTube, that can be matched with a patron or someone who appreciates that in the crypto and NFT space. So
Yeah, and a little more word on the first auction we put up, because the additions we did with the first live stream, we sold 25 of those for 0.15 ETH. And so like we had made like $9,000, like 22 minutes. And we were like, oh my God, this is crazy. And so we were like, okay, should we go with just live stream? Should we just do videos? And then we realized, we might as well do both. And we did a video right after that, and we happened to be connected to Lauryn Hill's daughter, who was also Bob Marley's granddaughter. And so she did the first video NFT, and that video NFT sold for like Brent said like over 5 ETH. And then we did Deli, who's ASAP Ferg's little brother, and he's kind of like getting the New York City ecosystem involved in like crypto, the like New York City creators. And so he did 2 editions. He has another video coming next week. He just asked us to do another edition tomorrow, actually. And so we're really just trying to build out as fast as possible, so that like we can have like these New York City creators, LA creators, other creators from around the world just start to build up. And I think Sam was able to spin up something while we were talking.
I was doing a little coding, but yeah, we've got a link to the live stream. This one has Solana tips instead of Ethereum tips. We've been taking like our time, kind of being really thoughtful in how we engineer the product, but we're opting for like a lot of flexibility, not only monetization wise, but also like being chain agnostic. So we can do like Solana, Ethereum. We'll start doing like layer 2s, and just playing around with monetization and being like really experimental there. And then like experimental culturally and also like from like the economic standpoint, and just trying to like iterate until we find find product market fit and find things that are like creating value for others. So yeah.
And on that point, so given that you guys do link video to NFTs, in sort of thinking about the way that sort of creators can monetize their content, looking at your platform versus something like a YouTube, what do you sort of see as the key differences and the key sort of value for creators and for fans?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it all comes down to like an address, right? Like everyone who uses Glass has like a crypto address, and like fundamentally, we can just create a lot more value by exploring like new business models that unlock like basically the demand for a piece of content. So with YouTube, you watch an ad for like 15 seconds or whatever, and as someone who's like a patron for this creator, I'm spending my time, my attention watching this person. That's the maximum amount that I can give, is like 15 seconds of time, a few cents. But like what we're seeing with the NFT space is that there are individuals that are willing to pay a lot more to be a patron, to support a creator. And like a lot of that value goes uncaptured on YouTube. So our whole thing is just trying to figure out how we can capture all of the demand for a certain piece of content for a certain creator as well.
And yeah, I guess in a way, you know, when a fan sort of purchases content on the platform, in effect, what they're buying is like the IP to that content. So do you sort of see a world where perhaps fans or maybe even sort of like DAOs of fans are pulling together resources to like host some of that content and maybe sort of, you know, new experimental models there?
Yeah, so this is coming up, but there's this really cool DAO. It's called Float, PHLOTE, and they're like a curation DAO. So there's all of these musicians, and like this DAO like collectively curates which musician, you know, gets the top spot. But we're gonna do a test with them where they curate, like community curates. It's like this media. It's almost like a decentralized like label, like curating the creator, and then on top of that, we can like crowdfund them and then monetize their work. So like that whole process allows the creator to like remain independent. The entire community is involved. The entire community is like sharing in that upside as well, like crowdfunding, and then like the final sale. So really excited about like media DAOs and like kind of decentralizing Hollywood a little bit, decentralizing the record label industry. So yeah, super interesting, but really underexplored. You know, like we have so much to just continue to try and experiment.
Yeah, and what we started to see is that, like, although we tried with this experimental video today, we think music videos and just like a focus on, you know, music kind of as that, you know, ingredient that's going to bring a lot more people to crypto. And so we're trying to highlight, you know, up and coming creators, and oftentimes these creators have multiple creators behind them, you know, creating any specific piece of content. And so figuring out how to like give the incentives to that group of creators, as well as, you know, giving incentives to people who are referring those creators to the platform. We're kind of digging into all those things right now, and we're cultivating a lot of that.
I noticed that you guys got used the .xyz domain name, and is that something like, what was the reasoning behind that? You think was it specific for that? Was it because it was more inexpensive, or is that going to be the long-term play for kind of the branding?
Yeah, so back in the day before ENS supported like every domain, .xyz's were the only ones that ENS, like the Ethereum name service, supported. So that was the rationale. Basically, every user would have like an ENS, but that was months ago. So.
Yeah, very, very cool. Yeah, I like that idea that it's crypto related, because I actually didn't know that XYZ was ENS related. So very cool. Yeah. And the other thing was, you know, I was there for the very first stream you guys did with Glass. So it was awesome seeing the first NFT drop. I think Adam was there as well. It was super cool to see the grassroots beginning of it. So congratulations to you guys. I just want to say that. And I guess the other question would be, you guys had experience with Google transcoding and like the back end stuff. And how has your experience been with like Livepeer so far?
Regarding live streaming, it's been great. Yeah, like phenomenal. Just drop it in and it works. Regarding like the video transcoding, I don't know. I've been working with Eric on like figuring out how to do full MP4 to like HLS transcoding, and it sounds like that's a couple weeks out. But I mean, the fact that that's only just a couple weeks out is pretty mind blowing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited to just continue to work with Livepeer personally. Also, there are some like machine learning things that are happening. I don't know how public that is, but super excited about that.
Yeah, you'll be happy about the automatic soccer detection, which seems to cause massive multi-$1,000 CDN bills when people start streaming Premier League soccer on your platform, and you can't stop it. So the machine learning stuff in the background automatically detects that, and we have a couple people who are piloting it out right now. So.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for answering those questions. I'm like super excited for what you guys are doing. I think once you get some big names and some proprietary people on it, you're going to see just some really, really great adoption. And I like the ecosystem you're coming into, and I think the timing is good with the NFT kind of craze right now. So it's a good launch pad for you guys. So good job and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys. And one question I just had, so I see at the moment most of the NFT drops have been really around sort of like shorter form content, sort of like 1 to 3 minute film clips. Is that where you sort of see the core opportunity? Is that where you're sort of focusing most of your time, or do you see an opportunity for longer sort of length content as well on the platform?
Yeah, longer length is really exciting. It's kind of a new, a really underexplored area, especially like in decentralized video and NFTs, just because it's technically hard to do like longer form content in a really strongly decentralized way. But yeah, we're working on the video transcoding and making like playback better. I'm pretty sure that within a couple weeks we'll be able to do like super long formats, so like up to a feature film. The question then becomes though, how do we monetize it? Like, do we sell it as a one-of-one NFT, or are there better monetization models that work for longer form or series-esque types of content? I don't know. Would love to like hear community thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd maybe just chime in on that. I think there's also perhaps like some interesting design space there for, like renting of those NFTs as well. So that could be an interesting model where there's sort of incentive for someone to purchase that and then rent it out to other people, or perhaps even for someone to spin up someone to sort of host that, and maybe there's some kind of a subscription sort of model, or perhaps it is more of a traditional kind of advertising model, but the content's owned by some kind of community DAO or something, which I think could be quite interesting.
Yeah, back to live real quick as well. I think it's interesting that you discovered you could, in your first live stream, you could sell the 25 different unique pieces of content in such a short period of time, probably because it was a live stream, like because you were interactive, because you were there's a community event going on, which is totally different than just putting those 25 pieces of content up for auction on a big platform where they may sit there for days, weeks, months. So I think as kind of, the long form content becomes infinitely producible and anyone can consume it and watch it over digital forms. And like you said, you're not really sure how to monetize that as a creator. Like you can go back in the other direction and say, oh, as a creator, if I actually engage live, then that's like a monetization opportunity. So imagine like, oh, I created this long form content and anyone can watch it. But if I happen to be somehow participating live in that experience, whether it's reaction videos or in the chat or something, like those are like the monetization opportunities around the long form content. I don't know what the perfect productization of that is, but there's like some powerful signal there that you guys have already observed.
On top of that, so for the Sayla video, she was on an Instagram live and we streamed her Instagram live to Glass. And we had her in like this interview on Instagram Live with I think like Paper Magazine or something like this. And then we dropped the NFT right after that live stream. And like that was like the signal, like, okay, she's now like the auction's now up and it's now going. I think on that point of just like providing totally new experiences and almost video being like that base or this like, profile for creators where live stream is where they immediately monetize. I think that's a possibility. And like anytime you think of, someone who's making TikToks or, YouTubes or Instagram videos or Twitches, like just think Glass if you want to help them monetize. And so I think everything around that realm we'll be trying this year and throughout the next.
Hey guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you're thinking about content moderation. I thought it was really interesting, this idea you talked about, kind of delegating the moderation role to a group of people. I was wondering if you can speak about that.
Yeah, it's a little TBD. We're waiting to like basically first nail down the fundamental like video technology, and then on top of that, like then user experience and monetization, and make something that's viable and has product market fit. But then after that, like the kind of the long-term play with Glass is figuring out like decentralized moderation and recommendation. I think thinking around that is really to provide optionality and not force anyone to be moderated by a single party. So personally, I'm really interested in this concept of like pick your own moderators. In a way, you could like stake economic value in individuals that are moderating on your behalf. If they misbehave, you can remove that stake and select someone new. And everyone has different taste, and I think perhaps what we'll see is like the creation of, you know, many different moderators that are kind of competing in a free market to be like the best moderator for a certain niche or a certain like type of group. Maybe it's also tied to curation, but it's still very like TBD. Recommendation,
Cool.
I think,
Yeah.
kind of the same vein. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it feels like it could be its own protocol in and of itself, moderation and curation. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for sure.
Yeah, it'll be cool to get like the data first and then be able to kind of like then work on moderation and recommendation once we have like some good data.
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Where are your guys' NFTs stored, like the data for the actual video footage? Because like the NFT itself, which is based on Ethereum, is basically just pointing to a source. Is the source of that video in a decentralized platform? Is it currently in a cloud platform? Like where is that currently stored?
It's stored on Arweave, which is permanent decentralized storage. We initially had it stored on IPFS. But one of the main reasons we switched to Arweave was because with IPFS, we actually have to pin servers to actually make sure that the content doesn't get deleted, which adds a little bit of liability on our end. Whereas with Arweave, we can kind of fire and forget with a higher upfront cost, and that allows the videos to persist as long as the network is active. Which I think long term is really powerful. If you think on the scale of 50 to 100 years, that data can be truly permanent. And working with Arweave in general is just super great. They're an amazing team, super smart. What's also cool about that is part of the chain agnostic architecture Sam was talking about. What's cool is we can have the same video file and, you know, have multiple chains interact with that same like permanent video file. So Arweave is a blockchain in itself, but it still enables this interoperability between other layers of like monetization, like Ethereum, Solana, layer 2s, etc. So
Very cool. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, look, yeah. So thanks for that. In the interest of time, I think we might now move on to Tenderize. So I know we've got Nico and Ruben on the call. Nico, did you want to maybe kick us off by saying a few words about how you came up with the idea of Tenderize and where the whole sort of story began?
Yeah, sure. So first off, like let me explain what Tenderize is. Tenderize is a liquid staking and yield aggregation protocol. And the goal is to bridge Web3 and work allocation protocols that have staking with DeFi. And from like talking to like Livepeer token holders and stuff, it was clear that staking is quite complex. You have to like choose a node to stake to. Different nodes have different commission rates, different earnings. And that might also change over time. So it's not really a set and forget experience if you're just looking to invest in a network as a token holder. So what Tenderize does is it tries to make that easy. You just stake your tokens, you get a derivative in return, and your balance of that derivative just increases over time. So under the hood, there's a governance system. Well, that's not yet in place, but there will be a governance system that sort of manages all the parameters, such as the orchestrators, which funds are allocated to, how much of those funds are allocated. It will also reallocate funds if needed, and try to optimize for yield, but also growth of the underlying protocols in return. So one of the things we also want to do is stake to well-performing nodes and not just nodes that might have the highest return in a short period of time, but really those that can ensure like the longevity of the network as well. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And one thing I was going to ask about, Nico, and I know it's something we've talked about on the community calls in the past, or just on Livepeer community calls in general, was around, yeah, I guess sort of some of the challenges in terms of creating an efficient sort of delegation market. I know this has been a little bit of the focus of Tenderize as well, given your sort of focus on sort of Web3 protocols. So yeah, I guess it'd be helpful to understand a bit more sort of deeply how you guys sort of see Tenderize sort of helping create more visibility around this and helping kind of like optimize delegation markets for users.
Yeah, sure. So currently, one of the problems with the delegation market is that it's quite expensive to reallocate your funds, especially if you're a smaller token holder. It's not really worth it to do it. But if you're staked through Tenderize, you don't have to pay that cost. That's all managed for you. And if we can get like a good decentralized management system going on top of that, we can really like stimulate delegation towards good nodes through Tenderize. Of course, it's important that not all of the stake is like allocated through Tenderize, I guess, because then like all of the stake is centralized in our protocol. But we do like want to make sure that like we do help that market grow a little by providing those cost reductions for users that don't want to like sit on top of their allocations and manage that actively. And even from talking to some of the bigger token holders, even they often don't want to invest the effort into managing those positions of staked LPT towards different nodes at a time. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. And I guess maybe one obvious question would be, so I mean, there's probably a lot of similarities in terms of what you guys are doing in something like Lido. What are the sort of like key differences in your approach to something like Lido? Is it really around the sort of focus, or are there other sort of technical differences in your sort of approach?
I mean, there's definitely technical differences, but I guess like the vision for Tenderize is different than that from Lido, and I think that's the most important thing. We really focus on Web3 protocols, like the protocols that back the decentralized internet. That's what we define under Web3. And Lido focuses more on E2 layer ones, which have like higher markets at the moment, but we do believe like Web3 is this big nascent space still to be unlocked. For example, if you look at what Glass is doing, like their content is stored on a decentralized network. They use Livepeer for video transcoding, which is like backed by a decentralized network as well. And if you look at it, those are like synergetic protocols. Whereas if you like offer layer ones, those are like competing protocols. So that's our focus, is focusing on synergetic protocols. So at the moment, when we will launch on mainnet, we will offer Livepeer, the Graph, Polygon, and Audius. So those are like not really competing protocols, but protocols that can really work together to build Web3 applications. So that's mainly our focus, and we want to stick to that because we want to see these protocols grow as well. And we think with Tenderize, we can really play into those economics of those protocols and give them more visibility in the DeFi ecosystem as well.
What are the is there any fees for Tenderize, or how is that incentivized for the Tenderize team, I guess?
Sure. Yeah, there's actually going to be 3 types of fees in the protocol that are baked in. One is a governance fee that will be paid to the governance treasury. And that will also be allocated to governance participants to sort of manage the protocol. A second one is a liquidity provider fee. So a percentage of the staking rewards will go to a yield farming contract where users can deposit their liquidity pool tokens. And the liquidity pools are for the staking derivatives and the underlying assets. So for example, Livepeer tokens and what we call tender Livepeer tokens, and you can swap between those back and forth. And the third fee will be a referral fee, whereby front ends which is not only our own web application, but like Zapper or Ethereum, like those DeFi dashboards that you're used to, if they bring on users, they will also like for a limited period of time earn some of the staking rewards for those users that they would bring on. So those are the 3 types of incentives in Tenderize to incentivize different kinds of behavior, really.
And one question I was just thinking about, I guess it kind of comes back to, I guess it's a point about proof of stake networks in general, but specifically with Livepeer, given the way the sort of inflation is sort of targeted and set. Do you think liquid staking kind of, I don't know, works around that whole sort of design mechanism, which is that if the participation rate rises above 50% or drops below 50%, so sorry, when it drops below, the inflation rate begins to rise again. Do you think liquid staking kind of maybe, I don't know, impacts those economics? Because for a lot of people, they can just sell rather than sort of unstaking.
Yeah, I haven't really considered that. What I think is that for the most part, individual unstakes from users will often not like move the needle all that much, whereby it is decisive between the participation rate like going below or over 50%, unless it's like 50.01 at that current point in time, maybe. So I don't think like that will move the needle. And like Tenderize, the protocol itself, it basically acts as a sink. So the protocol itself will never like unstake funds, but individual users can still unstake their own funds, of course, with still going through the unbonding period rather than using the liquid staking derivative. So I don't really think that's an issue, no. The one thing that Tenderize might do is increase the participation rate, because one thing we do is, and this is actually important for token holders as well, is we swap all of the ETH fees that the orchestrators we allocate funds to, we swap that to LPT. So that LPT then gets reinvested, and it's often hard as like a smaller token holder when you stake funds towards an orchestrator to like withdraw your ETH fees that you gain, because it's often such a small amount that it will take like years before it like builds up to be enough to like validate a withdrawal. So that's like the other thing that we do as well, and that increases the participation rate further by buying up that LPT from the secondary market that would be otherwise unstaked.
You mentioned earlier that the Tenderize would be choosing, say, like where to stake the tokens, and like how does that selection process happen? And specifically for like Livepeer, does it take into things like performance, even though that's really hard to do or maybe even impossible? Like how does it go about doing that?
Yeah, so essentially it will be managed by a DAO, but initially like it will be controlled by the Tenderize team, or like an initial DAO of the Tenderize team and some early community champions or stuff like that. And that they will select the orchestrator or orchestrators being allocated to. Over time, that will be decentralized into the form of a DAO, and we will try and provide peripheral tooling that makes good governance decisions possible, like tools that might show a dashboard whereby you see the orchestrator's APY over time, their performance recently, things that can help decide profitability, but also can take into account longer term network growth and seeing that not too much funds are allocated to one orchestrator, for example, things like that. Yeah, so it's very much governance, but with much peripheral tooling to inform decisions as well. We actually like have a live demo as well. I'm not going to probably run through the entire application, but I can like show it and can you see my screen? It's actually, I will share the link in the chat as well. So it's tenderize.me. Is it visible or?
Yeah,
we can see it.
So yeah, like I mentioned, we have Livepeer, Graph, Polygon, and Audius. And the concept is like really easy. You come in with your LPT. I currently have like a wallet connected already. Let me quickly select a different one. Let's select one that hasn't been used yet. So yeah, this is deployed currently on Rinkeby, where we deploy the Livepeer protocol. We run an orchestrator that generates like staking rewards. It's currently not generating ETH, of course, because we don't want to like transcode a lot of video, or like we could, of course, like just send tickets in, but it's just generating LPT at the moment. So I can get some LPT from the faucet, and then we can actually stake that. So there should be a balance showing up shortly, and then we can like stake that amount, and we'll have to approve and deposit that, of course. Let me change back to an old account where I have already done that. So I have 50 staked LPT, and my tender token balance, which are the derivatives, are like 51 point a bit. So I've earned like 1 LPT in reward so far, and that all happens automatically. And like I said, you can just swap between the liquid staking derivative, which is like yield bearing and over time, and just LPT. And this is like what enables liquid staking. There's an underlying liquidity pool for this, but you can also just go through the unbonding period if there's not enough liquidity available, for example. So you can like swap 20 of your earned tokens back, and you will see like a price for that. And one tendered Livepeer token will roughly equal 1 Livepeer token as well, depending on the price in the liquidity pool. So yeah, we can swap that, and we need to approve it, of course. And Rinkeby is a bit slow. And coincidentally, for a demo, always like something goes wrong, so the trade button doesn't like is still disabled for some reason. So yeah. So yeah, can't swap that now. So yeah, anyway. Yeah, I can also add liquidity to the pool under the form of like the derivative and the underlying asset. And in return for that, you will get liquidity pool tokens, similar to like how Uniswap or Balancer or SushiSwap works. So you can provide both assets. You can provide it as a single asset. You can select which one you want to provide. And you can then farm your pool tokens. So when you provide liquidity, you can get a portion of the liquidity provider fees from the protocol through farming your liquidity pool tokens. And you can see here that I have some pending rewards, which I can then harvest so that they are transferred to my wallet. And the rewards for this are currently tender Livepeer tokens, so they're paid out in tender Livepeer tokens, but they're based on the staking rewards that are earned, and in the future, these will also include the governance token to like further incentivize liquidity provision early on as well. So yeah, that's basically it. You can stake your tokens. You will get like tender Livepeer tokens in return, which automatically increase in balance in your account. And yeah, to withdraw them, you swap them back and forth, or you like farm them in the liquidity pool to like gain more rewards. Yeah, that's a rough, quick live demo, but feel free to check it out yourselves as well. It's up on tenderize.me. So I guess this is also like a bit of our announcement for our public testnet. So yeah, feel free to check it out.
Very cool.
Great demo. Just one last question. Sorry, don't mean to interrupt there, Nelson. When you stake, can you also then double down on like the harvesting? So it's like you get both, or do you have to choose one or the other, like providing liquidity or staking?
Good question. So the liquidity pool has weights, of course. So let's say you have the weights are 50-50, and you deposit your LPT in the liquidity pool, that will become 50 Livepeer tokens that are non-yield generating because they're just like liquidity, and 50% will be tender Livepeer tokens, and they will actually be yield bearing and increase in balance. So if you provide liquidity, your total amount of value of LPT and TLPT will earn less rewards in total than if it were all tender Livepeer tokens. But you do get those trading fees as well as that liquidity provider fee on top of that as well. So I really think it caters to different risk profiles, whereby either you stake everything and you have all of it in a derivative, or you stake a portion of it and you deposit it in the liquidity pool in like the relative weights. And you still have a portion of the underlying assets as well.
Yeah. And I guess, you know, in terms of how something like Tenderize would be relevant for orchestrators and Livepeer today, or even for delegators, I guess what's interesting about sort of providing this sort of liquid collateral is that it can then be used to access credit. So perhaps that could be an orchestrator looking to, I don't know, perhaps cover some bills, or perhaps it was to like maybe scale up their operation or something. That would be a way they could kind of access credit in DeFi, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the really cool use cases on the node operator side. I think another cool one that's more on the DeFi side and the speculation side might be leverage staking, whereby you can deposit your liquid derivatives in return for a loan, and with that loan you can get more Livepeer tokens, stake them again, and that builds up your leverage as well.
Absolutely. And yeah, and so I'm just seeing here you've got a few other networks. In terms of thinking about additional networks and projects if you're looking to support in the future, I guess like how are you kind of thinking about that? Is it all sort of I don't know, how do you sort of define what those projects are? Is it all sort of application layer projects, or how do you kind of define what you think you'd sort of like want to focus your time on?
So every project listed here currently is at the infrastructure layer, and that's very much what we want to continue in. Currently, every project here, the staking contracts are built on Ethereum. That's our current focus, but of course, in the future, we want to branch it out to multiple chains. For example, Akash Network, which is a decentralized sort of cloud platform that lives on Cosmos. So like we do want to branch out to some of those other infrastructure related protocols as well. Yeah. In terms of, by the way, in terms of like tokens coming soon, this is probably it for our launch date, for when we launch. So like 4 assets initially, and some of the remaining building work before that will be going into some core protocol improvements still. So yeah, 4 assets for now, but definitely looking to add more infrastructure protocols in the future, as well as once some of the layer 2 rollup protocols come out with their staking systems, definitely looking to support those as well. So like Arbitrum, Optimism, Starknet, things like that.
What's your timeline for mainnet launch?
Good question as well. Not a hard date set at the moment, but currently looking at something like 2 months, 2 months and a half, depending on audit mainly. So yeah. Any other questions?
Really good stuff. Thanks for showing this off, and definitely liquid staking is something that people have been asking about in Livepeer for probably over 2 years now. So I know many people will be excited for this to go live.
Awesome, guys. And yeah, so I mean, I guess before we finish up the call, did anyone have any other kind of more general Livepeer questions they wanted to ask?
Yeah, I noticed there was a pretty large uptick in work for the Livepeer network lately. And I'm just kind of curious as to if there was information on maybe if there was an adoption of an app, or it was one of the maybe Glass or one of the products presented here today. Like maybe there would be any information on that.
Sure. I think Yanden did a good post on the forum that described like the reasons for some of the like lumpiness in the usage over the early days of the network. And the main reason is that it kind of matches the like adoption pattern of a large application that's considering that's like doing a technical evaluation of a platform like Livepeer. So if you happen to be a large application, then you are very likely to, test conservatively over a period of time, run different tests, turn it on, turn it off, get the confidence before you go live that things are working. And so I think that's kind of what you're seeing is you're seeing apps test and evaluate, turn it on, maybe go live, yeah, good. With livepeer.com, a lot of the customers before they announce themselves or whatnot, we don't reveal who they are necessarily, but I think you see kind of good news in terms of increasing adoption when you see usage begin to go up.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. That's pretty exciting news.
Cool. Yeah,
Awesome,
like I
guys.
said kind of at the beginning of the call, I think, look for in the coming week or two some status updates on the scaling work that's been going on that'll hopefully have a big impact on reducing fees for token holders and node operators, as well as kind of updates on concrete steps we can take to make some progress on activating more nodes, getting more stake on high performers. Those are, some of the top priorities for the network right now.
Awesome, everyone. Well, yeah, unless anyone had any last final questions, I think we can leave it there.
Thank you very much, Nelson, for moderating, and thanks to the Glass team and the Tenderize team for the presentations. Really nice job building so far. Awesome stuff. Excited to see it built on Livepeer.
Yeah, thank you on behalf of the Glass team. Appreciate you.
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
guys.
Awesome, guys.
Hey, good job, everyone. Amazing, and good job to the Livepeer team for putting this on and having everything go smoothly and keeping community updated. It's really good news and exciting.
Thank you. All right, we'll see y'all soon.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.